Hello friends. Hello friends. Welcome to C# Intermediate to Advanced tutorial. Now you are watching final part of the video, C# Notify icon control. So in this video we will start coding the example, and all the setups were completed in the previous 5-part videos. So let's quickly review what we have done in the previous 5 videos. First, we learned about the basics of the Notify icon control. Then we talked about the example. Then we learned the properties of the Notify icon control. After that, we set up the timer. We also learned the basics of the timer component. Now we will proceed with the coding. So this is the example, and we will start at the coding for this example. First, if you see, we have a class level member variable, data member, end now. So this end now variable, we are initially setting it to false. Using this variable, we will decide whether we need to close the application or we want to hide the application. That means the form we want to hide or we want to close. So that is decided by this end now variable. So we are setting it to false initially. That means when user closes this form, it won't close. Instead, it will go and stay in the system tray. So the next one is m_seconds. So this one is to track the time elapsed. Suppose if a user places 15 and if they click this button, we will assign this 15 to this m_second, then we will start reducing it periodically, and when it reaches 0, then we will display the balloon tooltip control. I mean, we will display the balloon tooltip of the Notify icon control. So the click event is handled here, and if you see from this text box, we read the user input and we are parsing it to integer. So the text property will return a string and we are parsing it to integer. Then we are storing that in the internal member. So here in this screenshot, let's say user entered 15, then they clicked this button, and the member variable will hold 15 as an integer here. Next, we enable the timer. So in the previous video, we set the timer interval as 100 millisecond. That means the timer event will get fired 10 times in a second. So when we go to the demo, we will change this to 1000 so that the event will fire every 1 second. Also, the tick event start happening when we set this enabled property to true. When this enabled property is set with true, the timer will actually produce the tick event, and we have a handler for the tick event. We will implement that handler, and that handler will get called for every 1 second. So we will provide a handler for the tick event that we will implement in this video. Alright, for now in the click we are passing this, then we are enabling the timer. Then if you see, we have two context menu item, and this context menu will get displayed when user right clicks the tray icon. and this tray icon appears when user closes the form. Alright, and if you see, when user clicks this remaining is the context menu item control, and we are handling the click event for it. And when user clicks this, we are showing the form. That means when a user clicks here, we will hide the form. Instead of closing it, we will hide the form, and when user clicks here, we will show the form. So the idea here is a user will type some seconds here, 15 seconds. They will click on this track enabled or track seconds elapsed button, and the timer will run and it will start updating the counter here. So the counter will change periodically for every 1 second, and it will show 14, 13, 12 like that. When user closes that, the timer will still tick and it will update this label. And if user want to see how many seconds elapsed, then or the remaining seconds, they can click this menu item. The form will show and it will show the running count, current running count here. Alright, so that's the purpose here. We are simply showing the form. Next, when user clicks this exit menu item, here it is false, right? When form is launched, we are initializing this member to false, and this is where we will set it as true. So once exit is clicked, we set it as true, then we call the form function close. So here we will be using 3 functions on the form. One is the show, this will show the form. Close, this will close the form. And since it's a form based application and only one form is there, that's the main form. Once we close the form, the application will exit. And when user closes this, that time we will invoke one more function, this dot hide. So that means we will hide the form and we will show the tray icon in the system tray. Alright, for now we are accessing the close on the exit. So first we set it to true, then we make a call to close. So that's the exit handler. Next, if you see, there is a tick event. The timer component, we kept this timer component in the form, right? So the timer component will produce the tick event for every 100 millisecond. For now, in the demo, we will change it to 1000 so that the tick event will get raised for every 1 second, and we will provide a handler for this tick event. That means whenever the tick event is raised, it will go to this handler. So that's the handler here. This is the handler. Based on this interval, the handler will get called. So inside the handler, we are reducing this member variable. If you see here, this is our form, and when user clicks the button, this routine will run, and here whatever is user given in this input text, that we are storing in the msec, and we are accessing this msecond every 1 second, and we are reducing it by 1. That means if user typed 10 here, this will get reduced to 9 when the timer runs. When it runs for the second time, it will be from 9 to 8, then 8 to 7, likewise it will go on. And at one stage it will reach to 0. So when msecond reads 0, that means the time is elapsed. 10 here user is typing seconds, and we make the timer to run for every 1 second by setting the interval property to 1000. That means when the routine is called for the 10th time, that means the 10th second, the timer got elapsed. So the time what we say, first we will disable this timer enabled property, we set it to false. So once a timer is disabled, it will not produce this tick event. Since it will not produce this tick event, this routine will not get called. Or because we enabled once, we disabled the timer once the timer elapses, that we check through m_6. Next, this dot. So here we are checking if this dot visible equal to false. This dot visible means this form. If form is not visible, so when user iconify it, it will go and stay in the system tree. The time the visible will be set to false for this form. So if form is displayed, then the visible property will be set to true. But when user clicked this, we hide the form. That means visibility will be set to false. That means the property will be false here. So when timer is elapsed and form is hidden in the sense it is staying in the tray icon, that time we access the tray icon and we show the balloon tooltip. So let's say that user is not closing this, the form is still in open state and the timer elapsed to 0. That time we won't show any notification. Why? Because it is in the foreground and it is visible, so no need to show any tooltip. But when it is in the background, the form is hidden and it is staying in the tray icon, that time we need to show the tooltip. That's why here we are checking visible equal to false, and this is the function we are calling it on the tray icon, show balloon tooltip. For balloon tooltip, we already set 3 properties to the tray icon, right? So if you recall, the properties are balloon tip text, balloon tip title, and balloon tip icon. So based on those property, when we make a call to show balloon tooltip, it reads these 3 property which we talked about in the previous video when we learned about the tray icon properties. Alright, now during the form load, if you see, we are not showing the tray icon. That means in the system tray, so this will be the system tray area, right? In the system tray, we will not show the icon, since during the form load we are setting the visibility as false. And during the form close, if you see, this form close will get called in 2 situations. One is this is the form and user is clicking this X icon, so it will raise the form closing event. And when user clicks the context menu exit, so in the exit handler we make call to this dot close. So this the C# framework itself will call. Why? Because user is producing the event, click event on this X button, so form close he is triggering. Here we are triggering it through the code using this dot close. So in both the cases, the form closing event will be raised by the form and this routine will run in both the cases. So when user is closing it using this action, during the form load, we are setting this end now as false during the form load. If you see, this is during the, not even form load. So here we set this end now as false as part of the member variable initialization itself. And when user clicks the close, that time we are setting it to true. And we know that the form closing will get called when user clicks this X or when user clicks the exit button. So when end now is set to false, that means user doesn't click exit button, they clicked this close button. So that's the time the end now will be false and we will get inside. First thing what we are doing is we use the form closing event args and we set it to true. E dot cancel equal to true. That means the form closing action is get cancelled here. So C# runtime will not close the form since we are intermitting this event and we are cancelling it. So closing action won't take place. So after doing this, we go for do events to do any repainting if that is required by the application. After doing all those repaint, we hide the form. See, we cancelled the close action and we are hiding it. So that means it looks like the form is closed, but it doesn't close, but it will hide. Then finally, we make the tray icon visible to true. So during the form load, we are setting it to false just for safe purpose. Here, when user clicks the close action, we set tray icon dot visible equal to true. That means the icon, the form will be hidden and the icon will be staying in the tray icon control. I mean tray icon of the taskbar. So that's all. Now we will go to demo and we will implement the code. So here is our form. So I'm right clicking the form and choosing view code. Then as a member, so this is our class, right? A form tray icon which inherits from the form system.windows.forms.form, and we add these two member variables. One is n now and another one is m6. The purpose is so these two member variable and its purpose was already explained in the slide. Next we will go ahead and handle this track seconds elapsed, and here we will set this as 1000 so that the timer will run for every 1 second. So we selected the button, going to event and handling the click event. So in the click event handler, we read the user input and we enable the timer. Next we need to handle the context menu click events. So I'm selecting this and going to event, double clicking this click. Double clicking this click. So both the menu items are handled. Here you will say this dot show, this will show the hidden form. Then in the menu exit, we will set the end now to true. This variable we are setting it to true. So when form is initialized, it will be false, and we are setting it to true when user clicks the exit button. After that we are invoking the close action. So now we will go to the timer component, and under the event section, if you see, there is only one event. Tick occurs whenever the specified interval time elapses. Specified interval time is 1000 milliseconds. That means 1 second. So we are handling this tick event. Here if you see, the purpose will be timer will display the remaining seconds and ends when all seconds passed by. That means when this msec reads 0, here we will reduce it by 1, and when it reads 0, we will end this timer routine. Also we will show the balloon tooltip, and we will show the balloon tooltip only when the form is in hidden state. That means it is tray iconified. So the code is already explained in the slide. You can download this code from video description. Next, we should handle the form closing event, and if you see, so here I am clicking the title of this form, and so this is the properties, events, and this is the form closing. So there are two events. One is a form closed, occurs when the user closes the form. After the form has been closed, this will produce the form closed event. So once form is closed, we can't do anything. So that's why we should not close the form, but we should hide it when user clicks this close button. So the perfect place for this is closing. Closing means the form is not yet closed, so this is the event we have to handle. If you handle it here, the form is already closed. After that, it is firing this event. So this is not required, and this one is required for our example. So if you see here, based on the variable end now status, we are cancelling the close action. So if end now is set to false, then the variable tells to this event routine that do not close the form. And when end now is true, the routine will allow closing the form, and the end now will be set to true when user clicks the exit on the context menu. And the context menu will get displayed when the application is iconified. User right clicks it and then chooses the exit menu. So that's the workflow to close the form and end the application. Alright, so if user is closing it using this using the crash button, this one, first we cancel the form close. This is the event argument we are getting, right? Form closing event args, and we access its cancel property and we are setting it to true. That means we are not closing the form, and the form close is stopped here, and since it is stopped, we are making call to hide. This do event is we are allowing application to do any background task. Why? Because we are hiding it, right? Before hiding, we are asking the application to do any UI related update. If we want to do, we are allowing that. Then we are hiding the form. Finally, we set the visible property of our notify tray icon to true. So once you set this to true, then icon will be shown in the system tray. So most of the developer will forget to do this, and if the visible property is false, then notify icon will not get displayed in the system tree. So we need to set this to true. Once you set this to true, then the notify icon control will show the icon in the system tray area. Alright, that's all we are doing in the form closing. So by default, this visible property is false, and for safe, if you want to set it during the form load, we can do that also. So anyhow, it will be false. That's the property we set during the, or the default property. Default property value is false. We no need to set, but anyhow, that's okay. Now we will run this. So first I am giving 5 here. Let's open the code in the meantime. And if you see here, when the time elapses, this is our timer control, right? And this time we are not going to close the form. the visible property will be true. So when visible property is true, it won't show any balloon tooltip. So you can ignore this parameter. The parameter reads how long the tooltip should display, but the API is ignoring this parameter because it is controlled by the control panel. Alright, now we will click this track seconds elapsed, and if you see, we won't get any tooltip. Why? Because the form is in visible state. Now we will increase this timer to 50 seconds. It will run. This time I am closing this form, and it will not end the application. And you can see the notify icon is displayed here. Right, this text notify icon example, it is through the text property of the notify icon control. Now if I right click and choose remaining seconds, we will show the form. So that's what we have written it, right? Hide. So searching for form close. So here if you see, we called this dot hide, and now when I invoke this, we are showing the form because we call this dot show, this dot show here. So 43 seconds. I'm closing it again. 35 seconds. Likewise, when there is some long running task, and if a user want to know the status, they can choose the option like this, because the form is still running in the background, so we are just hiding it. Now I closed it. When timer elapses, it will show the tooltip. There are still 11 seconds. We will close it when it reads 4 seconds, so that we can see the tooltip. Okay, now I'm closing it. And you can see this is the tooltip, or the notify icon is notifying the user, stating that time elapsed, check the form. So here we need to change the property values. This should be the actual text, this will be the heading. So what we have to do now, we'll go to the system tray, we'll copy this, so first so we just changed the property values. Now it will read correct. So this is the title, right? Title is timeout, and this is the tooltip text. We will run this once again. This time we will give a very short so this is the title, time elapsed, check the form, and this icon is coming from, I mean this one, this is coming from the info. And if you choose warning, there will be a different icon. You can experiment that yourself. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.